What do we got here? Hey friends, what up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yud Gimel, Daf 13, Masechta Moed. No, that was the last one of the Masechta. Who could tell me, friends? Who could tell me what the Masechta is? Masechta Hagiga. What do you think today's Daf talks about? Mayseh merkavah. No biggie. So let's just jump right in over here. So we're going to start on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, top line of the page. Friends, if you're expecting a Kabbalah lesson from me, Nudniks don't usually get involved in such things. Let's go weiter. V'omer Rav Acha bar Yaakov, says Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Shani Rav Acha bar Yaakov de Muflo. The Gemara doesn't say that. Well, it doesn't say. It says it's somewhere else, not here. All right. Okay, there's another heaven above the head of the chayis. The pasuk says, all right, and on top of the heads of the chayis there was another heaven. It was very icy. Adkan yesh l'chorishus l'daber. So up until there you could talk about mikan ve'elach. Once you get higher than that, just don't even go there. Shekain Kosu B'Sefer Ben Sira. It's written in the book of Ben Sira. What does it say over there? B'Muflo Mimcha Al Tidrosh. Things that are sort of above you, don't search around over there. U'Mechus Mimcha Al Tachkor. Things that are hidden from you, don't research too much. V'Masher Usheisa is bonin. That which you're allowed, comprehend. Ein L'cha Esek Ben Historis. You have no reason to be getting involved in the esoteric things. Alright, okay. Very interesting stuff. Tani, we learned about Mayseh. Amar B'Yochanan ben Zakkai, says B'Yochanan ben Zakkai. Matshuva Shivaso Baskol Oso Rosh. What did a voice from heaven say to Nebuchadnezzar? B'Shasha Amar Ale al B'Mosei Ov. I'll go above the clouds. Adam le'elyon. I'll be like God. A heavenly voice emerged and said to this fellow, Roshe ben Roshe, evil fellow, the son of evil fellow, ben Benoshel Nimrod Roshe, the sort of descendant of Nimrod the Nudnik, she imid es kol olam kulo olav b'machuso, that made everybody rebel against God. Kamishnosu shaladum, Mr. Nebuchadnezzar. How long does a fellow live? Shivim Shana, 70 years. Shnemar, as the pasuk says, Shivim Shana, that a fellow's years is 70 years. Shana, and if he'll be mighty, so then 80 years. From the land to the heavens is 500 years. Friends, if you want to, what's that song? If I could walk 500 miles, 500 years, fellows, friends. You think a marathon. A friend of mine ran a half marathon recently. Mamish kol kavod. Friends, a 500-year marathon just to get from the earth until the heavens. All right. And the heavens itself is another 500-year journey. Now we had Virakia. Now we had said that there are 7 heavens, right? So each one, it's the same thing. 500 years to get from one to the other, and then the heaven itself is 500 years. So friends, a lot of years. L'mayla mein chayis hakodesh, and then above them is the holy chayis. Ragli chayis keneged kulam, and then just the feet of the chayis is basically the equivalent of everything up until now. So kilu, what was it, like 500 times 2 times like 7 kind of, so like all of that, and then double that for the chayis. We're getting bigger exponentially. Karsule chayis, the ankles of the chayis keneged kulan, are then equal to all of everything up until then. Shoke chayis keneged kulan, and the thighs of the chayis are like equivalent, what's it called when everything goes retroactively? Cumulative. Rechuve achayis keneged kulan, the what was the rechuve again? Oh, like the mid. Oh, yeah, sorry. The shoke were like the what's that thing called between your knee and your foot? The I don't know, shin. All right, that sounds good. And then there's like, I guess, a middle part of the leg. I don't know. Who knows about legs? Anybody here know about legs? So that's like the middle part of the leg, I guess. Keneged kulan is like equal to everything cumulatively. Yarche akchayis, the thighs of the chayis. Keneged kulan, equal to everything cumulatively. Gufe achayis, the torso of the chayis. Keneged kulan is equal to everything up until now. Savre achayis, the neck of the chayis. Keneged kulan. Friends, like I don't even know how many years we're up to. Friends, definitely more than 70 or 80. I mean, remember, it was just 500 to get to the first one, and we're just like going bananas here with cumulative exponential year exponentiating. Roshi achayis, the heads of the chayis, keneged kulan, like all of them. Karne achayis, keneged kulan, the horns of the chayis. Friends, a lot of flipping years. The Mailaman kisei kovid, and then above them is the kisei, the holy throne of the Eibishter. Ragle kisei kovid keneged kulan, the legs of the kisei kovid equal to everything. Kisei kovid keneged kulan, the actual throne is equal to everything. Melech kel chai v'kayim rom v'nisa shochin aleim, and then God is sort of above everything. So, sheesh. V'ata marta ala abba Mayseh of Adam le'elyon. Nebuchadnezzar, you think that you're really gonna be like God? You're gonna live for 70 years, maybe 80 years. You won't even get 20% of the way to like the first step. Adam le'elyon. Achel she'ol turad al yakse bor. Rather, Nebuchadnezzar, you know where you're going? To hell. Now get out of here. Let's go weiter. Lov merkavah b'yachid. You don't study, you don't teach the Mayseh merkavah to an individual. Tani, Reb Chia, Aval Mosin l'Rashi Prakim. Okay, Reb Chia says, but you could teach him sort of like the, what's it called? Like bullet points, I guess. Alright, it's a question what that means. Is talking about somebody who's like a Talmud Chacham, somebody who's not. Omer Reb Zera says, Reb Zera, in Mosin Rashi Prakim el bezdin. So Zera says that we only tell sort of these, you share these bullet points with like the head of the court, the Bezdin. And to anybody whose heart, I guess, trembles inside of him and is scared inside of him, I guess that's like a good thing. Those who say, no, it's not two separate people, it's one person. So the first way to say it is that you could teach these bullet points to the head of the court, and to somebody whose heart trembles inside of him. But the other way to understand it is that no, the head of the court, if his heart trembles inside of him. Omer Reb Ami says, Reb Ami, a mosin sisrei Torah, ela l'mishesh bo chamisha dvarim. Since Reb Ami, we only tell the secrets of the Torah to somebody who has 5 things, 5 characteristics. Sar chamishim, a captain of 50, unesu panim, a respected fellow, v'yoetz, and an advisor, v'chacham charoshim, and is a teacher of the wise, v'novan lachash, and comprehender of mysteries. Okay? So we can teach secrets to this fellow. V'omer Bami says, Bami, in most divrei Torah le'over kochavim, we don't teach words of Torah to a Gentile. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, lo asachin l'chogoy mishpatim ba'idom, that he didn't do this for all the other nations, and we don't let them know the statutes. Omer le Reb Yochanan Reb Elazar. So says Reb Yochanan to Reb Elazar, Ta agmerich b'Mayseh merkavah, come and I will teach you about the Mayseh merkavah. Right, the description of the chariot at the beginning of Ezekiel. Omer le lo kashoy, and Reb Elazar says, look, I'm not old enough. Kikosh. And when Reb Elazar did get old enough, noch nafshe de Reb Yochanan. By that time, Reb Yochanan had already died. So Reb Asi says to Reb Elazar, Tov v'agmerich b'Mayseh merkavah. So come and I'll teach you about the Mayseh merkavah. Omli zakoy gamirta Reb Yochanan Rabach. And Reb Elazar says, look, if it was meant to be, if I merited, I would have learned it from Reb Yochanan. not from you. Rav Yosef Havagam Mayseh merkavah. Rav Yosef knew the Mayseh merkavah very well. Rav Yosef, he was well versed in the Mayseh merkavah. Now the elders of Pumbedisa, so the Gemara in Sanhedrin and Daf Yud Zayin says that the Savi Pumbedisa are Rav Yehuda and Rav Eina. They knew the Mayseh Bereshis, the creation of the earth. Amrulay. So the Savi the Pumbedisa, Rav Yehuda and Rav Eina, they said to Rav Yosef, Ligmor lan Mayseh merkavah, teach us the Mayseh merkavah. Amrulu Agmur li Mayseh Bereshis, and Rav Yosef said to them, teach me Mayseh Bereshis. Basu the Agmurun Amrulay Ligmurun Mar Mayseh merkavah. So fine. So the Savi the Pumbedisa obliged and taught Rav Yosef Mayseh Bereshis, and then they said, okay, it's time now you teach us Mayseh merkavah. Amrulu, he said to them, Taninabu, that we taught, that it's taught Dvash v'cholav tachas l'shonech, that it's like honey and milk under your tongue. Dvarim ha'mesukin midvash v'cholav, things that are sweeter than honey and milk. Yehu tachas l'shonech, they should be under your tongue, and kilu, and not to share them. Okay, which is super interesting, right? Because I mean, if we're saying that the Savi de Pumbedisa was Rav Yehuda and Rav Eina, I mean, Rav Yehuda was Rav Yosef's Rebbe, so it's kind of interesting to think that Rav Yosef was well versed, knew about Mayseh merkavah, and like Rav Yehuda, his Rebbe, was like begging him to teach him, and he like says, look, it's like tachas l'shonech, I can't just share it with you. I don't know. It's interesting that if we say that Savi de Pumbedisa was Rav Yehuda, was there a different Rav Yehuda? I don't know. It's interesting. Anyways, Rabbi Bo says, "Kvasim l'levushech dvarim." I'm sorry, kvasim l'levushech, like sheep for your clothing. Dvarim shein kivshuno shel olam. The things that are the mystery of the world, yihu tachas levushech, they should be like, I guess, concealed. Amrulay, they then said to Rav Yosef, they said, look, Taninabu ad vayomer Eli ben Adam. They said, look, we know already the Mayseh merkavah up until the second parak of Yechezkel when it says Ben Adam. Amru, and Rav Yosef says, if that's the case, ain't it Mayseh merkavah? No, so you do know the Mayseh merkavah. Mayseh, 1 second, we have a kasha. Reichon Mayseh merkavah, until where is Mayseh merkavah? Rebbe Omer says, Rebbe, ad va'ere basra, until the last time it says in the pasuk va'ere. Okay, so not quite till the end of the first parak. Yitzchak Omer says, Rabbi Yitzchak ad chajmo, until it mentions in that pasuk the chajmol. So kilu, not all the way up until the second parak, a little bit before that. Ad va'ere magmurinon mikanvelech misarinon rashi prakim. So the Gemara says, look, until va'ere, so we can, teach, but until then, once you get up to va'ere, kilu, the end of the first parak of Yechezkel, so then we only give bullet points. Those who say ad va'era misarin and rashi prakim, that until va'era we teach sort of bullet points. Mikan ve'elach, after that, imuchacham mevin midaito in. So if he's a wise person who can understand on his own, so then fine. So givaldik ilo, but if he's not, then no. Umidashinim b'chajmol. 1 second. Do we really teach about the chajmol? Chajmol comes up in the pasuk over there. So do we really teach about it? Again, I can't give you too much info here. I don't understand these things. So v'ha'u yenuka tidarish b'chajmol v'nafka nura v'achalte. But 1 second, there was a certain little young fellow who was learning about the chajmol, and a fire came out and consumed the little fellow. Shani yenuku dilav moti zimne. So we say that this little fellow, he was studying about the chajmol, but he was still too young, so that's why he got consumed by fire. Amr Rav Yehuda says, Rav Yehuda Brab Zocher also Aish Latov. Remember the following person in a good light. V'Chanani ben Chizkiah Shmo. His name is Chanani ben Chizkiah. Ilmale hu nigna sefer Yechezkel. If not for his efforts, the book of Ezekiel would have been hidden away. She'ayu devar v'sosin devitor, because there are things in Ezekiel that seem to conflict with what the Torah says. Ma'oso, so what did Chanani ben Chizkiah do? He'lulo gimomeus gai v'shemen. So they brought up for him 300 barrels of oil. V'yoshav Ba'aliyah v'darshu, and they udrasho, and they sat in his attic and they kind of sorted out whatever questions there were about the book of Ezekiel. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Mayseh b'tinokecha, there's a story about a certain young little fellow, that he was reading the book of Ezekiel at his teacher, and he was understanding the chashmal, he was learning and trying to comprehend the chashmal, and a fire came out from chashmal and consumed this little fellow. Uvikshu lignos Sefer Yechezkel, and therefore because of that unfortunate tragic incident, so they wanted to hide away Ezekiel, right? Look what happened. You have this little fellow, he was studying Ezekiel and he got killed. So Amr Loim Chanani ben Chizkiah, says Chanani ben Chizkiah, Im ze chacham akol chacham men. Look, this young fellow was very advanced, and that's why he was able to be studying such lofty things, but the fact of the matter is he was too young, and that's why he couldn't handle it, and he got killed. But that's not necessarily a reason to stash away the book of Ezekiel, because not everybody, the sort of average young fellow is not really on the level where he would be sort of dabbling in the Mayseh merkavah, so therefore we can keep Ezekiel around. My chashmal, what's this chashmal that we're talking about? Amr Yehuda, this is Yehuda, chayos eish memalos. Okay, chayos of that fire comes out when they speak. Alright, oh my gosh, that's interesting. Fire comes out when you speak. Interesting. B'masnisatan, it was taught in the Brisa, itim chashos, itim memalos. Sometimes they are quiet, sometimes they speak. B'shasha adibur yotzim m'pi HaKadosh Baruch Hu chashos. When God is speaking, they're quiet. B'shasha ein adibur yotzei m'pi HaKadosh Baruch Hu memalos. When God is not speaking, so then they speak. V'chayos watzav ashov. So we say about the chayos that they are running to and fro. Kimari abozok, like the bozok. Okay, so first of all, my rotzav ashov, what does it mean that they're going back and forth? It's like fire that's emanating from a furnace, that it's like going back and forth, like the flames. Mike Mara Bozok, what does it mean like a bozok? It's like if you have an earthenware vessel and there's like cracks in it and fire is coming out of it, that is the Mara Bozok. And I looked, and behold, there was a stormy wind coming from the north, a big cloud, and like a big fire, vinogalo saviv, and it was shining around, mitocha kena chashmal, and inside of it was chashmal mitocha eish, in the fire. Leichon azal. So then where did this fire go? Okay, there was this crazy fire in the north. Where did it go? In the north of Babylon. So Amar View, this says Review Amar Rab, the name of Rav Shalach Lichbosh is called Olam Kulo Tachas Nebuchadnezzar Aroshe, that this fire went in order to capture the entire world under Nebuchadnezzar the Nudnik. V'chol Kach Lama, and how come they had to make a whole to do with this whole big fire, right? There was a storm and fire and clouds and wind. So Shelo Yomu Umas Ha'olam, that the nations of the world should not say Biad Uma Shvala Mosar HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Banav, that God gave over his children to a sort of lowly nation. No, it's a nation with a whole to do with a big fiery storm. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Migarim Li She'eh Shamish Lo B'Fsilim Avanesein She'Yisrael Ein Garmu Li, that what caused me to become like a servant for the idol worshippers, Kilu, that I guess Nebuchadnezzar and those people ended up sort of taking over the Yidden. So it's the sins of the Yidden that caused it. Says the pasuk, Va'era Achayos, and I saw the Chayos, V'hinei Ofen Echad Ba'aretz, there was a certain Ofan on the ground, the Eitzel Achayos, next to the Chayos. Amar Belazar, says Belazar, Malach Echad, Shehu Omed Ba'aretz, Vosha Magia Eitzel Achayos. So there is a one angel that he's standing on the ground and his head reaches the Chayos. Masnisa Tana, who's taught in the Brisa, Sandalfon Shmo, his name is Sandalfon. Hagavah Mechaver Mahalich Chomesh Meus Shana, that he's like taller than everybody else by 500 years. He's 500 years taller. Interesting. I didn't know we could measure height in years. That is super interesting. He's, I guess, taller than everybody else by a magnitude that it would take 500 years to traverse. That sounds pretty tall. Let's go weiter. Ve'omed achorei merkavah, it stands behind the merkavah v'koshek sarim l'kono, and it ties crowns for God. Ini is true. V'aksiv baruch kvod Hashem imkomo. 1 second, it says that blessed is the honor of God from His place. Muchad imkomo leka diyodale. His place. Where's His place? Nobody knows. So the Omar Sham, the Omar Shem Ataga v'Ozov Yosef Bereishe means that sure nobody knows where God is, but specifically, but the sandalphon is able to say a certain name of God, and then the crown that he makes goes on, finds God. Omar Rava says, Yechezkel Ra Yeshaya. Anything that Yechezkel saw, Yeshaya saw as well. What is Yechezkel similar to? Leven Kfar Shura Samelech, like a villager who saw the king. Lema Yeshaya Dome. What is Yeshaya similar to? Leven Krach Shura Samelech, to a person of a city who saw the king. Meaning, there is the description of God is much more detailed that in Yechezkel than it is in Yeshaya. And the point being that Yechezkel is almost like a villager who sees the king, that it's like a lot, makes a big, much, it's more of a villager sees the king, it's like a whole big thing, and they're like every detail is important, it stands out and is significant, whereas a city dweller sees the king, it's amazing, but it's givaldi, but it's not quite a chiddush, as much of a chiddush, and you might not need to go into as many details when recounting it. So there, that explains why Yechezkel is a lot more detailed in accounting, in sort of recounting or explaining his vision, as opposed to Yeshaya. Rish Lakish says, Rish Lakish, what does the pasuk mean? Ashir Hashem ki go, that I will sing to God because He's exalted. Shira lemi shemizgaya lagayim, that it's the a song to He who is sort of above those who are above, exalted above the exalted. Damar, that we said, Melech shebachayus ari, the king of the of the animals, of the wild animals is the lion. Melech shebehemis shor, the king of the animals is the ox. Melech shebeoifis nesher, the king of the birds is the eagle. The adam mizgoy alein, and man is sort of above them. V'akadosh baruch hu mizgoy al kulan, and the Eibishter is above all of them, and on the entire world. Because one pasuk says, one pasuk says that the face of the angels was like the face of man. And then there was the face of a lion to the right, for all four of them, and there was the face of the ox to the left, for all four of them, for I guess all four of the what are these, chayas or something. But we have another passage that says that one of them was the kruv, and the second one was pnei adam, the face of man. The other one was the face of a lion. The face of an eagle. But in the second pasuk, it swaps out the ox for the kruv. So Omar Rish Lakish says, Rish Lakish, Yechezkel bikesh alav rachamim, that Yechezkel prayed for, requested for mercy, v'avchu l'chruv, and changed the ox to be a kruv, which we'll explain in a second. Can the prosecutor become the... Oh, 1 second, my neighbor's yelling. 1 second. My neighbor's yelling. This is exciting. Give me a second. So he says, can the prosecutor become the defender? Kilu, obviously the ox, brings up the cheta egel. So we didn't want the cheta egel to always be there with the angels, so therefore it was switched for the kruv. Interesting that we could be talking about Mayseh merkavah, and I get distracted by my neighbor. I guess that maybe explains why, as I said at the disclaimer at the beginning, that we're going to keep moving. Let's go weiter. My kruv, so what's kruv? Amr Babo, says Babo, kravya. It's like a little fellow. Shekain b'Bavel korin linuka ravya. That in Bavel they call little fellows ravyas. Omar le Papa Labai says Papa Labai elamiato tichsiv pnei echad pnei kruv ufnei hasheni pnei adam. 1 second. If a kruv is a little fellow, so it says that one of the faces was that of a kruv and one of them was that of a man. Vashlishi pnei ari, the third was a lion. Va'arvi pnei nesher, and the fourth was the face of an eagle. Hainu pnei kruv, hainu pnei adam. 1 second. If we're saying kruv is a little fellow, well, isn't that the same thing as an adam? So zutre. Well, the little fellow has a little face, and adam is sort of a bigger face. So on the one hand, the first pasuk says that they had 6 wings. The other pasuk says they has 4 wings. Friends, what is it? Lokasha, no problem. So it depends. In the book of Yeshaya, that was when the Beis Hamikdash was sort of, standing strong, stark. So that's when there were 6 wings. But Yechezkel, things were already starting to fall apart, and therefore there were only 4 wings. It's as though the wings of the chayes became less. Hey, minayu imut. Okay, so if there were 6 wings and now there are 4, which were the 2 that got dropped? Omer of Chananel Merab Osin Sha'omers Shir Bayin. It's the wings that they sing songs with. Ksevach, it says over here, V'shtayim Yo'ofef. It says that with 2 there will be Yo'ofef, that they'll fly. V'karzav Elzav Yomer, and they call out to each other and they say, Uchsev, and the puzzle says, Asoif Enecha Bo Ve'enenu, that you will look at it and it will be gone. So therefore, the ones that are gone are the ones that I guess they would like fly with, I guess, which implies that was somehow the ones that they would sing with, I guess. For Rabbanan Amrei, that those who say Osin Shemchasus Bein Ragleim, that the ones that got dropped were the ones that covered their legs. Shneimar, the pasuk says, Ragleim Regel Yeshara, that their legs was a straight leg. Vilav de imut minava yoda, and if not for the fact that those wings that would generally cover the legs got dropped, so then, how else would you see them? If normally there were 6 wings and they would cover the legs, so you wouldn't be able to see the legs. The fact that it says that they had 1 leg, that he was able to see the leg, so Mimele, they weren't being covered by the wings, so that means that those wings got dropped. But 1 second, how do you know? Maybe the wings were there, but they just got revealed for a second, and that's when he got a glimpse. So and if you don't say this, meaning obviously that's the case, pnei adam, when it says that the face was like the face of man, are you going to say that it's because those wings that normally cover the face got dropped? No, meaning the wings were there, but there was an opportunity that it got revealed and you saw the face. So Achanami here also by the legs, the legs got revealed and then he saw the legs. Which say that's not necessarily a good proof, because you could say that no, it does mean that the wings got dropped, and that's why he was able to see the legs, because because when it comes to the face, it would make sense that even if the wings were there, you would still be able to see the face, because it makes sense to reveal your face in front of your master. But it doesn't make sense that they would just reveal their legs in front of God. Therefore, it makes sense to say that the wings that got dropped were the leg wings, and that is why they were visible. One pasuk says that there are like thousands and myriads of these ministering angels. And another pasuk says, is there any number? Right? Is there any finite number? Thousands and tens of thousands are a lot, but it's a finite number. But the other pasuk says that there's like no particular number. Lokashis, no problem. That it depends, when there's a Beis Hamikdash, when there is not a Beis Hamikdash. It's as though when there's no Beis Hamikdash, the sort of entourage of God, Kaviyachol, becomes, as if it were, becomes smaller. Tanya, we learn in the Brayso, Rabbi Omer says, Rabbi Mishum Abba Yossi ben Dosoi Elef alfin yishamshune mispar gedud echad. That when it says thousands and tens of thousands, when it says thousands will serve him, so that is a reference to just one legion. The legdudav in mispar, but the number of actual legions is infinite. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar elef alfin yishamshune le nahar dinor, that thousands upon thousands will serve him to the fiery river. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Nahar Dinor, this fiery river, Nogad v'nafek min kadmoi, went from before him. Elef alfin yishamshune v'abi ravban kadmui yikumun, and then thousands and 10,000s would serve before him. Mecha nafik, and then where does this the fiery river come from? Miziasun shachayis, from the sweat of the chayis. Ulehechon shafich, and where does it get spilled out into? Amar v'zucher batuvia amarav arosh rishayim begehenim, on the heads of the nudniks in Gehenim. Shenemar, as the pasuk says in Isaiah Hashem, that it's a storm from God. Chama, is it Chama or Chema? Chema yatsa, and anger went out, Vasar, and a storm, Mischol al Rosh Rishayim Yachil, goes on the heads of the nudniks. Ravacha B'Yakov, Amos says Ravacha B'Yakov al Asher Kumtu, is because they ordained Shenemar al Asher Kumtu, on those who were ordained. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Asher Kumtu velo Eis Nar Yutzak Yisodam. Okay, that they were ordained, and I guess it wasn't their time, and this river was poured on their foundations. Okay, I guess this fiery river goes on the nudniks. Tanya, we learn in a Brisa, Amr b'Shimon HaChosid, Elu Chameos v'Shivim v'Arba Doris. These are 974 generations, Shekumtu li'ibaros, that were ordained to be created, Kodem Sheniva Olam, before the world was actually created, V'Lonivru, but they weren't actually created. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Shasam b'Chodor v'Dor. God went and put a little bit of these generations in every nation, V'Einen Azeh Panim Shebedor, and these are the nudniks in the generation. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Asher Kumtu Levracha. Whereas Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, no, this is not a negative thing. These aren't nudniks that they put in all the generations. It's actually a blessing. The pasuk says, Elu Tamidi Chachamim. I'm sorry, Levrachu Dichsiv. It's written in as a blessing. Elu Tamidi Chachamim. These are the Torah scholars. Mekamten Atzman al Divrei Torah, that they sort of refrain from getting enough sleep because they're studying Torah. Ba'olam hazeh, in this world, Hakadosh Baruch Hu megal lehem sod l'olam haba. The Eibishter reveals for them a secret in the world to come. Shneimar nar yutzak yisodam, that I guess it would be like this river of secrets or whatever. Well, friends, that was Daf Yud Gimel of Masechta Hagiga, where we kind of discussed things like angels and Mayseh merkavah and what you're allowed to learn. Things like that. I think it was pretty interesting. Cheers.